Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a deeply fascinating, completely impartial journey through Islamic theology. We are going to demystify a subject that is incredibly profound, yet honestly vastly misunderstood. We're looking at the concept of a parallel existence, a totally unseen world that, according to these ancient texts, actually shares our exact physical space. I want you to imagine, just for a second, an invisible civilization coexisting right beside you right now. And look, we need to shatter that whole pop culture genie in a bottle stereotype right out of the gate. Forget the blue cartoon characters granting 3 wishes, okay? Because the source materials we're examining today describe an intricate, highly intelligent society with its own physical rules, its own massive wars, and its own complex belief systems. Section 1. The Hidden World of Fire. Unveiling the Unseen. To truly grasp what these entities are, we really have to start with the language itself. In Arabic, the root letters for jinn are JNN, and together those letters universally signify something that is hidden or concealed from the eye. It's fascinating when you look at related words. For example, Jannah means a hidden paradise, and Junoon refers to insanity, which literally means the intellect is hidden or concealed. So the very name jinn establishes their fundamental baseline reality. They are the hidden ones. This quote brilliantly illustrates the strict rule of visibility between our two worlds. The Quran essentially establishes a sort of one-way mirror rule. While the jinn can see us going about our normal everyday lives, we cannot naturally see them in their true form. And it gets even more interesting, because the texts state that the jinn themselves cannot see the angels. So what we're looking at is a layered hierarchy of unseen dimensions. Now, the crucial point in all of this is understanding what they're actually made of. The texts juxtapose our origin with theirs. Humans are described as being created from clay and water, right? And that gives us a heavy, material, tangibly slow physical nature. But jinn were created before humans from marija, which translates to the purest, smokeless fire. This fiery, subtle origin gives them immense physical advantages over our heavy, clay-based reality. It makes them light, highly fluid, and incredibly fast. Section 2. A Parallel Intelligent Society. Life Beyond the Veil. Okay, so according to these theological sources, the jinn are absolutely not mindless spirits or ghosts. They are a highly intelligent society possessing complete free will. Just look at the startling ways their society mirrors ours. The texts explain that they eat, they sleep, and they live in homes. They even have their own animals, which supposedly feed on dung and bones. They speak different languages, and because they have free will, they choose their own religions. The texts literally note there are Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, and atheist jinn. They engage in trade, they argue, they fight massive wars, and ultimately they have moral accountability and will face Judgment Day, exactly like humans do. Now, we need to clear up a massive misconception right now. Not all jinn are evil. We can see this in the categorical breakdown from the texts. Jinni is simply the general term for the whole species. Then you have the Amer, who dwell in homes, the Arwah, who interact with children, and the extremely powerful Ifrit. But pay attention to that bottom category, Shaitan, or Satan. In this theology, Shaitan is merely a title. It's a title given to a wicked, rebellious jinn, or even a rebellious human. It's basically an adjective for evil, not a completely separate species. And here's another really vital clarification. According to Islamic theology, jinn are completely separate from humans. They are absolutely not the spirits of the dead. So when psychics or mediums claim to speak to a deceased relative, the texts argue that they are actually communicating with a jinn, specifically a qareen, a jinn companion that was attached to the deceased person during their life, which allows it to perfectly mimic their memories, their voice, and their personality. Section 3. Supernatural Abilities and Forms. Fast, fluid, and fiery. Let's explore some of the awe-inspiring and honestly sometimes terrifying supernatural feats the jinn are capable of, all thanks to that smokeless fire composition. The Hadith, which are the recorded sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, specifically categorize their physical forms into 3 distinct types. First, you have the flyers, who move rapidly through the air. Second, you have the shapeshifters, who most frequently take the physical form of snakes and black dogs to interact with the material world. And third, you have stationary beings that travel about the earth. So their abilities vary wildly depending on their specific race and type. To give you a real idea of their speed, the sources cite the Quranic story of Prophet Solomon. Solomon was granted this unique, unprecedented control over the jinn. The story goes that when Solomon asked who could bring him the massive, heavy throne of the Queen of Sheba from hundreds of miles away, an Ifrit, again, one of those incredibly powerful jinn, offered to transport it before Solomon could even stand up from his seat. literally 0 seconds. Section 4. Stealing secrets from heaven, the illusion of omniscience. But here is where we hit a sharp narrative turn. Because while they are incredibly fast, and they can live for thousands of years, they are not all-knowing. The texts actually outline an exact mechanical procedure for how Jinn historically simulated knowing the future. It completely exposes the magician's trick behind their supposed intelligence. First, they would fly all the way up to the boundaries of the lowest heaven. Second, they'd eavesdrop on the angels gossiping about divine decrees. Third, the angels would hurl fiery comets, which is what we see as shooting stars, to chase them away. Finally, the surviving Jinn would take that one tiny stolen truth, mix it with 99 lies, and whisper the whole shebang to a human fortune teller or sorcerer. So the crucial point to take away here is the strict theological boundary. Despite their phenomenal speed, their incredibly long lifespans, and their cosmic eavesdropping, the Jinn fundamentally do not possess true knowledge of the unseen. According to the theology, that belongs entirely and exclusively to the divine. And there is a brilliant story that illustrates this exact limitation. The texts provide the ultimate proof. Prophet Solomon actually died while standing up, leaning on his staff. But because the Jinn do not know the unseen, they had absolutely no idea he was dead. They literally continued doing hard, grueling labor for him in absolute fear, until a physical worm finally ate through the wood of his staff, causing his body to fall to the ground. Only then did the Jinn realize the illusion. Section 5. Magic, Men, and Limits. The dangers of crossing the veil. So what actually happens when the human world and this hidden world dangerously collide? Well, the texts lay out very specific mechanics for how these collisions occur. Because of their subtle, fiery nature, Jinn are said to be able to possess humans by literally flowing through the human bloodstream, directly influencing thoughts and emotions. Then there's sorcery. The Quran warns that this involves the malicious manipulation of knots and threads to bind humans and Jinn together. And sometimes, the harm is purely accidental. The sources mention the historical account of a leader named Sa'd ibn Ubadah, who was allegedly killed by Jinn simply because he unknowingly urinated into a hole that happened to serve as their home. These specific details about controlling Jinn come from an esoteric Arabic grimoire called the Shams al-Marif. It details exactly how Solomon managed his forces. While he had human advisors like Asib bin Barkia, he also controlled 4 incredibly powerful Jinn viziers, Temriat, Sonic, Hudliaj, and Shugal. Solomon reportedly used encrypted Hebrew names placed on his carpet to command them. It really shows an intricate, highly structured hierarchy and how humans historically attempted to cross that veil and control the unseen world. But to conclude this thematic journey, we have to look at a beautiful quote from the mystical text, The Secret of Secrets. It simply says, "Man is my secret, and I am his secret." It connects the hidden world right back to the human soul. Because the sources universally argue that true spiritual defense against the unseen isn't found in magic, it's not in talismans, or in trying to control Jinn. It's actually found in unwavering faith and the divine light placed inside the human heart. So I'm going to leave you with this to think about. Considering the sheer depth of this parallel, hidden society described in these ancient texts, are the unexplained whispers, the sudden chills, and the mysterious shadows in our world simply echoes bleeding over from theirs? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.